Senator from Arizona.
Mr. President, obviously we regret that there's not been able to reach an agreement. I'm especially disappointed that we are unable to consider the AOT amendment, which is an alternative to the sequestration. A flexibility of sequestration would still sooner or later have the same draconian effects on our national security. I also would point out to my colleagues that what we're about to go through is in some respects a charade, because we know that the proposal on that side will not succeed with 60 votes. The proposal on this side will not succeed with 60 votes. Meanwhile, the clock moves on till sometime tomorrow night. Some of us warned for a long time about the effects of sequestration. And if we want to have a blame game, then I'll take blame, everybody take blame. But isn't it time that we prevented what our military leaders in uniform who have made their careers and their lives serving and sacrificing for this country say would harm and inflict terrible damage on our ability to defend this nation, our inability to train and equip the men who are serving? I always appreciate very much when members on both sides of the aisle praise the men and women who are serving in the military. I'm always pleased to see that. But shouldn't we be thinking about them now? Shouldn't we be thinking about those men and women who are serving, who literally don't know what they're going to be doing tomorrow? It's like the crew of the aircraft carrier that was just taken from, decided not to deploy and to the Middle East at a time when tensions are incredibly high. I would also point out to my colleagues that this is not a fair sequestration. Most Americans believe that this is half out of defense, half out of non-defense. It's not. Because with the time of the formulation of the sequestration, about half of the spending that we engage in is exempt, such as compensation for the president, such as the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, such as payment to the District of Columbia Pension Fund, such as the Host Nation Support Fund for Relocation. All of these and many, many others were made exempt, which meant that the cuts and the reductions in defense was even larger. And obviously, those who designed this legislation decided that the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation and relocation funding was more important than national defense, because we didn't exempt national defense. That's disgraceful. So 19% of discretionary spending is out of defense. We're asking for 50% cut out of defense on top of $87 billion that's already been enacted under Secretary Gates, on top of $487 billion in defense, which is already in train to be cut. The percentage of gross national product for defense continues to decline. And what are we doing? You know, last week, a few days ago, there was a wonderful ceremony in the White House where a brave young American received the Congressional Medal of Honor. I happened to go to an evening function at a pizza place with him and his comrades who fought in a book was written by Jake Tapper, an excellent book. I recommend it to all my colleagues, where 8 of their comrades were killed. You know, and here we are unable to make sure that these young men and women who are serving in harm's way have the equipment and the training and everything they need to defend this nation. We are doing the men and women who are serving this nation a great disservice. And the president did them a disservice when he said in the campaign, not to worry, sequestration won't happen. The president of the United States said that. I didn't say it. The 3 of us traveled this country warning about the effects of sequestration. And of course, we now know that the idea came from the White House, but that's the blame game, and I'll be glad to engage in that. But can't we at least come to some agreement to prevent this? Are we going to lurch from one fiscal cliff to another? And if we want to do that, that's one thing. But what we're doing to the military, look, I know General Odierno is one of the really great leaders that I have had the opportunity of knowing for many years. General Odierno, the Chief of Staff of the Army, a man who's got decorations from here to here, said that he cannot replace the men and women who are serving in Afghanistan under this sequestration because he doesn't have the ability to train their replacements. Isn't that alarm enough for us? So we're going to go through a charade here in a little while. We're going to have a vote on the Democrat proposal, and it'll not get sufficient votes, and the same thing here on this side, and the clock will tick. And tomorrow, on the last day, the President's going to call people over to the White House to see if we can address it. Where was he in the last year? But again, I'm not taking the floor today for the blame game. I am pleading for the men and women who are serving this nation in harm's way, who every single day have a hell of a lot tougher time than we do, that we can't do something on their behalf to sit down with the President of the United States, who's the Commander-in-Chief, and get this issue resolved before we do great damage to our national security. I thank Senator Ayotte for her proposal. It is real reductions in spending so that we don't have to go through this sequestration. On the one side now we have a choice between, quote, flexibility, which nobody really exactly knows what that means, and on the other side, obviously, a proposal that really bears no relevance to the issue that faces us. So I thank my colleagues for the time. If I sound a little emotional on this issue, it's because I am. And it seems to me that we, at least on this issue of national security and the men and women who serve our nation, we should come together. And I stand ready to put everything on the table to prevent what could be, in the words of the departing Secretary of Defense, a devastating blow to our ability to defend this nation in what I could make an argument are the most dangerous times. Mr. President, I yield the floor.